Morning sunlight filtered through the airport glass, washing the terminal in gold. Dr. Maya Ellison moved with the calm discipline of someone who had led soldiers and briefed presidents. Her navy blazer carried her late father's Air Force pin. Her briefcase, secured by a discreet chain, contained documents too important for error. 2 hours early, 2 steps ahead, she approached the first-class line like clockwork. The gate agent smiled and reached for her papers, until a voice interrupted. "Ma'am, I'll need to verify those." Cole Anders, white TSA supervisor, appeared with a clipboard and a grin sharp enough to cut. He flipped her ID under the light, muttering about forgeries. Passengers slowed their march through the line. Phones began to tilt upward. Maya kept her posture steady. "Sir, these are official government travel orders. Please contact your manager." "Don't tell me how to do my job," he snapped, waving her Pentagon clearance as if it were a grocery receipt. "You people always have an excuse." The words hung heavy. The gate agent froze. A child whispered to his mother, "Why is he so mad?" Maya's voice stayed even. "You're violating protocol." "I haven't triggered any screening alert." Cole smirked. "Protocol? I am protocol." He grabbed her briefcase handle. The zipper slipped, sealed folders slid out, stamped classified. Gasps rippled through the gate area. "What's this? Props for a movie?" he sneered. "Those are restricted federal materials," Maya said, every syllable measured. "You don't have clearance to handle them." Cole laughed too loudly. "Sure, and I'm the president." He keyed his radio. "Possible terrorist documents at Gate 17. Send backup." 3 agents hurried over. One glanced at the seals and paled. "Sir, these look legitimate." Cole cut him off. "I said backup, not commentary." Asterisk. Maya knelt, collecting her papers with soldierly precision. Her father's pin caught the fluorescent glare. Inside, humiliation burned like acid, but she refused to show it. Years of breaking barriers had trained her for moments like this. The passengers' murmurs became a tide of judgment and unease. "Stand up," Cole barked. Maya rose, calm and upright. "You're escalating without cause. I suggest you stop." He leaned close, eyes wild. "You don't get to suggest anything, lady." Before she could respond, a sharp announcement cut through the noise. "Attention personnel at Gate 17, federal escort inbound." Cole smirked. "Perfect timing. They'll deal with you." Maya exhaled slowly, the faintest hint of a smile at the corner of her mouth. The right people were finally coming. Around them, cameras recorded, passengers held their breath, and justice, though late, was boarding. The crowd parted as 3 figures in black suits strode down the terminal. Their footsteps were steady, their expressions unreadable. Federal agents. Cole Anders straightened his tie, forcing a grin. "Finally, real law enforcement. You're just in time. I caught this woman trying to board with forged government papers." He pointed at Maya like a man proud of his own disaster. The lead agent, Special Agent Rivera, didn't answer. Her sharp eyes swept the scene. The scattered documents, the terrified gate agent, the woman standing tall and unbroken. Then she looked at Maya. Her posture changed instantly. Shoulders back, chin lifted. She raised her hand in a perfect salute. "Ma'am," Rivera said clearly, "Dr. Ellison, we apologize for the delay. Your escort is here." The entire terminal froze. Gasps, whispers, phones held higher. The other 2 agents followed Rivera's lead, saluting the black woman the TSA supervisor had called a fraud. Cole blinked, confusion draining into horror. "Wait, escort? Who is she?" Agent Rivera turned to him, her voice flat. "Director Maya Ellison, Joint Interagency Threat Analysis Cell. She outranks everyone in this building." Cole's mouth fell open. The gate agent covered her lips in shock. Passengers began to applaud softly, disbelief turning into awe. "Sir," Rivera continued, "you are to hand over all confiscated materials immediately. Mishandling classified documents is a federal crime." Cole stammered. I was just doing my job." "Your job," Rivera said, "is to recognize credentials, not trample them." Maya didn't gloat. She simply stepped forward, her calm presence more powerful than anger could ever be. "Agent Rivera," she said softly, "thank you for arriving on time." "Always, ma'am," Rivera replied. "We'll make sure this is handled properly." Rivera motioned to her team. They placed gloves on and began collecting Maya's scattered papers into evidence sleeves. Every move professional and precise. The contrast between the careful agents and Cole's chaos was painful to watch. The gate area had become a silent theater of truth. Every passenger now saw what prejudice looked like when stripped of authority, and what dignity looked like when it refused to bow. Cole tried one last desperate stand. This is a misunderstanding. I was protecting the airport. Rivera's eyes didn't even blink. From a decorated federal director traveling under government orders? His voice cracked. She didn't look. Like what? Rivera interrupted sharply. The question hung like thunder. Cole shrank. No answer could save him. Agent Rivera's radio crackled. Vehicle secured for Dr. Ellison. Ready for transport. Copy that, Rivera replied. Then she turned back to Maya. Ma'am, we'll escort you personally. Your briefing team is waiting. Maya nodded once. She reached for her father's Air Force pin, bent slightly from Cole's earlier grab, and straightened it with her thumb. Let's go. As the agents surrounded her protectively, the crowd erupted into applause, real, rising, cathartic. For the first time all morning, Maya let herself breathe. She walked past Cole without a glance, her silence louder than his excuses. Rivera paused beside him just long enough to deliver the final blow. Supervisor Anders, she said quietly, expect a call from Internal Affairs. And when it comes, don't say we didn't warn you. Cole stood frozen as they left. Papers gathered, authority gone, every camera still rolling. The image that would travel around the world was simple but unforgettable. 3 FBI agents saluting a woman he had tried to shame. Justice didn't shout. It simply stood tall, and everyone watching knew which one of them truly represented the United States. The black SUV glided through Washington traffic, sirens clearing the way. Inside, Dr. Maya Ellison sat silently, her hands clasped over the briefcase now safely sealed by the FBI. Her reflection in the window looked calm, but beneath the surface, her heart still thudded with disbelief. Years of service, thousands of hours of intelligence work, and still, a uniform and confidence could not shield her from suspicion. Agent Rivera watched her carefully from the opposite seat. You handled yourself with more grace than most generals I've met, she said softly. Maya managed a faint smile. Grace is all they leave us when power gets stripped away. The SUV rolled past the Pentagon security gates, sunlight glinting off the steel. Inside, polished floors echoed beneath measured footsteps. Maya walked through the halls of national defense like she'd done 100 times before, but this time the air felt heavier. The briefing room waited, a circle of men and women who depended on her analysis to prevent disaster. As she entered, conversation stopped. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs nodded. Dr. Ellison, we're glad you made it. Maya placed her folder on the table, connecting her laptop to the main display. Maps and data flared onto the screen, trade routes, coded transmissions, heat signatures over volatile regions. Her voice was calm, precise, the tone of a leader who'd earned respect through competence, not privilege. She briefed them on an emerging threat in the South Pacific, hidden supply routes fueling insurgents, the potential for an attack within days. Her strategy was surgical, neutralize without escalation, save lives without headlines. When she finished, the room was silent for a heartbeat. Then the general spoke quietly. Outstanding work. Your intel just saved a fleet. Only then did he add, we heard about the airport. Maya paused, uncertain. It's being handled. It shouldn't have happened, he said. You've carried this country more times than it's carried you. After the meeting, she stepped into the quiet hallway. Her phone buzzed, a message from her daughter, Alicia. Proud of you, Mom. Don't let small minds stop big missions. Tears welled briefly before she blinked them away. Rivera joined her, handing over a folder. Internal Affairs opened the case. They've got every second of footage. Maya sighed. I don't want revenge, Agent. I just want accountability. Rivera nodded. Then you'll have it. And you'll have allies this time. That night, back at her apartment, Maya sat by the window overlooking the Potomac. The city lights shimmered like a living circuit of ambition and fatigue. She thought of her father, of the first time he'd told her, dignity isn't given, it's protected. Her mind drifted to the terminal, his laughter, her restraint, the crowd's silence. She realized something powerful. The real battle had never been in war zones abroad. It had always been right here, in rooms and checkpoints and offices where prejudice hid behind procedure. Her phone chimed again. Agent Rivera. For what it's worth, ma'am, the team's calling you the calm storm. They've never seen anything like it. Maya smiled faintly. Storms don't shout. Rivera, she texted back. They changed the weather. Outside, the night deepened, and for the first time since the airport, she let herself rest, not in surrender, but in preparation. Because she knew tomorrow would bring headlines, investigations, and questions. But she also knew this. She'd already won the most important battle. She hadn't let hate make her smaller. Morning light crept through Maya's curtains, but she was already awake. Her phone vibrated nonstop on the nightstand. Messages, notifications, news alerts, too many to count. She hesitated before picking it up. The first headline froze her breath. TSA supervisor humiliates federal director. Then FBI salutes her. Below it, a viral video thumbnail. Her face, calm amid chaos, and 3 agents standing at attention. Millions had watched overnight. Clips flooded every social feed. Hashtags like #RespectHer and #SaluteAtGate17 trending across the world. Strangers wrote messages of gratitude and outrage. Veterans called her a hero. Parents told their kids about dignity under fire. Maya read a few, then set the phone down. She hadn't asked for fame, only fairness. Agent Rivera called within minutes. Ma'am, you're everywhere. Every outlet's running the footage. Internal Affairs just launched a full inquiry. I didn't want this to become a spectacle, Maya sighed. Rivera's tone softened. You didn't make it one. Truth did. Across the city, airport executives scrambled to contain the storm. Press releases went out, carefully worded apologies, promises of comprehensive review. Cole Anders, now suspended, gave a defensive statement to local reporters claiming he had acted according to protocol. But the video told another story. His tone, his words, his arrogance. The nation had seen everything. There was no hiding behind policy anymore. By noon, Maya's office was a battlefield of ringing phones and flashing news feeds. Colleagues stopped by just to say thank you. Others avoided her, uncomfortable with what her story revealed about their own silence. When her superior offered a PR team to manage the narrative, Maya refused. The truth doesn't need management, she said simply. That evening, she sat with Rivera in a quiet cafe near the Potomac. The air smelled of coffee and rain. They'll try to spin it, Rivera warned. They'll say it's an isolated case. It's never isolated, Maya replied. It's practiced, tolerated, disguised. I just happened to be the one recorded. Rivera nodded slowly. Do you know you've inspired half my agents? The ones who've faced the same thing quietly. They finally feel seen. Back at home, Maya opened an email from a teenage girl in Chicago. My mom showed me your video. She said, see? That's what grace looks like. I want to join the Air Force someday, but I was scared. Not anymore. The message made her eyes sting. For years, she'd given lectures about national security, strategy, and leadership. But this unexpected moment, had reached hearts policy never could. The next morning, the Department of Transportation announced a federal review of TSA practices. News anchors debated systemic bias. Politicians tweeted support, some sincere, others opportunistic. Through it all, Maya stayed silent publicly, choosing dignity over noise. She only issued one short statement. I'm grateful to those who stood up for justice that day. Respect should never depend on appearance or assumption. The words spread like wildfire again. Calm, precise, impossible to twist. Cole, meanwhile, sat in his living room watching his own downfall unfold on every channel. The applause that had filled the terminal now echoed in his nightmares. For the first time, he understood that losing power didn't hurt as much as losing credibility. As the week closed, Maya walked by the Lincoln Memorial. Tourists milled around, laughing, unaware that the woman beside them had just shaken a national institution. She looked at the reflection pool and thought of every silent humiliation she'd endured before this one. Maybe this was the moment that would make the next woman's journey easier. The world had seen her composure, but not her tears, not her trembling after the cameras stopped. Yet that was the real victory. She had kept her dignity when it mattered most. Justice had gone viral. Truth had traveled farther than hate ever could point. 2 weeks later, flashbulbs burst across Capitol Hill. Reporters swarmed the marble steps, microphones thrust like weapons of curiosity. Inside, the Oversight Committee hearing room buzzed with tension. The placards read, Federal Review on Misconduct and Civil Rights Violations at Reagan National Airport. The nation was watching. Dr. Maya Ellison sat composed at the witness table, her posture military straight, her calm radiating through the chaos. Across from her sat Cole Anders, once confident, now pale and hollow-eyed. He fidgeted with his tie, sweating under the lights. His attorney whispered rehearsed lines he would soon forget. The committee chair, Senator Ramirez, opened the session. Today, we address a question larger than one incident. How does power behave when it thinks no one's watching? The room fell silent. Screens flickered to life, playing the airport footage. Cole's arrogance filled the chamber. His words, "You people," echoed like a curse reborn. Then came the reversal, the salute, the applause, the truth. When the video ended, the senator leaned forward. "Supervisor Anders, do you recognize this footage?" Cole's voice cracked. "Yes, ma'am, but it's being taken out of context." "Context?" Ramirez interrupted sharply. "What context excuses humiliation of a federal officer on duty?" Cole's lawyer jumped in. "My client acted within his training." "Then your training," Ramirez said coldly, "is broken." Agent Rivera testified next. Professional, steady, precise. She described the chain of events without embellishment. Every regulation violated, every order ignored. Dr. Ellison followed all procedures, she concluded. The only threat that day was prejudice. The committee turned to Maya. The cameras zoomed close, expecting fury. Instead, her tone was even, her words surgical. "I'm not here because I was insulted. I'm here because systems meant to protect citizens were used to demean them. That's not just my story. It's America's unfinished business." A murmur swept the room. Even the press paused. Maya's eyes didn't waver from the senators. If we allow authority to act without accountability, we turn respect into privilege. And privilege, unchecked, breeds abuse. One senator asked softly, "What do you hope comes of this, Dr. Ellison?" She replied, "Policy that protects dignity, not power." So the next traveler, no matter their color or title, walks through that checkpoint without fear. By the afternoon, the committee had heard enough. They announced immediate reforms, independent bias review units, transparent complaint systems, and a new training initiative inspired by her statement, the Equal Dignity Protocol. Every officer would be retrained, every complaint independently archived. For the first time, oversight had teeth. Cole was asked for closing remarks. His voice trembled. "I made a mistake. I let assumptions guide me." Maya looked at him, not with anger, but the calm of someone who'd already forgiven herself for surviving humiliation. "Change starts when people admit what they did," she said quietly. "But it only lasts when others learn from it." As the hearing adjourned, applause filled the room, not political applause, but human. Veterans stood. Reporters lowered their cameras. For once, a government building felt like a temple of truth. Outside, journalists crowded the steps. Maya refused interviews. She simply told one young reporter, "Today wasn't about me. It was about the mirror we all had to face." That evening, headlines blazed across the nation. Congress enacts Equal Dignity Protocol after airport scandal. In offices and classrooms, people rewatched the hearing, memorizing her words about respect and accountability. Meanwhile, Rivera sent her a text. "You didn't just win a case. You changed a rulebook." Maya smiled, standing by her window, the city lights flickering below. Justice, she realized, isn't loud. Its lasting point 3 years later, Washington, D.C. breathed easier. The terminals once tainted by silence now buzzed with quiet pride. Posters near every checkpoint bore new words in bold. Equal Dignity Protocol. Respect is national security. To travelers, it was a slogan. To Dr. Maya Ellison, it was a promise kept. She walked through the same airport one autumn morning, her stride unhurried, her heart lighter. Gone were the stares that once followed her uniformed grace. Officers now greeted passengers with measured courtesy. She stopped near Gate 17, the place where everything had begun. A new plaque gleamed on the wall, in honor of those who stood with dignity when it was hardest. A young TSA officer recognized her instantly. "Dr. Ellison, it's really you. I studied your hearing and training." Maya smiled. "Then you already know what to remember." He nodded. That respect isn't optional. The officer's words made her chest warm. That, she thought, was how change looked, Not fireworks, but habits. Quiet, steady habits. Outside, her driver waited to take her to the Pentagon. She was now Deputy Director of National Intelligence, overseeing programs that bridged civilian and military cooperation. Her days were long, but her purpose was sharper than ever. That moment at Gate 17 had not broken her career, it had defined it. At her office, sunlight glowed across framed awards, the Congressional Medal of Service, the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and a handwritten note from Agent Rivera, "Storms don't shout. They change the weather." Beneath it sat a smaller photo, her and Rivera at the Equal Dignity signing ceremony, both smiling like women who had earned peace the hard way. News reports on her screen showed progress. Complaints of bias in federal checkpoints had dropped by 80%. Oversight boards now had civilian members. Victims of past discrimination received compensation and apologies. Airports across the country played training videos inspired by her story, ones that began with arrogance and ended with awareness. But the world still had its shadows. That afternoon, her assistant entered with an envelope. "From Cumberland Federal Prison," he said gently. Maya opened it slowly. A handwritten letter. The ink was uneven, the tone unsteady, but the words were sincere. "Dr. Ellison, I'm not asking for forgiveness, but I owe you truth. Prison strips away pride, and what's left is the man beneath excuses. I saw the video again during an ethics class they made us take. You didn't humiliate me. I did that myself. You faced hatred with grace. I'll never earn your respect, but I wanted you to know I finally understand what you tried to teach me that day." Cole Anders. Maya sat quietly, the paper trembling in her hands. She didn't smile, but her eyes softened. Redemption didn't erase damage, but acknowledgement mattered. Later that week, she gave a keynote address at Howard University. The auditorium overflowed with students, cameras, and quiet hope. She looked out at the sea of young faces and said, "Power doesn't reveal who we are. It tests who we choose to be. Some of us pass. Some of us learn the hard way. But what matters most is that we keep learning." Thunderous applause followed, but Maya's tone stayed steady. "The salute that day wasn't about rank," she continued. "It was about recognition, that every person deserves the respect they've earned, not the judgment they've feared." Afterward, a freshman girl approached her shyly. "Ma'am, I want to work for the Bureau one day, like Agent Rivera." Maya smiled, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Then promise me something. When you wear that badge, make it mean something good." "I promise," the girl whispered. That evening, Maya drove home along the river. City lights rippled across the water like reflections of everything she'd fought for: clarity, accountability, humanity. She parked by the memorial, stepped out, and looked toward the sky. Somewhere, her father's words echoed. "Dignity isn't given, it's protected." She whispered back, "I protected it, Dad." And now, they're learning to protect it too. The wind moved gently through the trees. Somewhere inside the terminal she'd once been humiliated, another traveler walked freely, unafraid, unjudged. That was victory enough. Justice hadn't ended with punishment. It had evolved into prevention. And for Maya Ellison, that was the truest kind of peace.